Well, hey there. My name is Dan Spencer, and for Best Music Coach, I'm doing a live music teacher Q&A today, so please feel free to pop your questions in the chat. Now, we did have some lyrics submitted ahead of time, as well as maybe some questions. I know for sure there were some lyrics. We're going to start with those, check those out, give feedback to those who submitted, and rock and roll. And as I mentioned, as we go through this, please feel free to ask your own questions in the chat of whatever platform you are on. Good morning, William Nathaniel Bodine on Facebook. And we're going to get rocking and rolling. So first thing for us to do is we're going to be reviewing some lyrics. And the lyrics we're going to be reviewing today are version 2, or Mark 2, from Nate Bodine. I challenged Nate to go ahead and write some lyrics, and Nate was like, yeah, well, about what? I was like, about anything. And Nate was like, well, okay, here's some lyrics about sourdough. And turns out they're pretty fun. So we're going to go ahead and check these out. Okay, came over to your place one summer's eve. You and Mom had been out shopping for hours. As she and I stood and turned to leave, you gave me a jar of something bubbly and sour. Feed this bread starter every day with equal weights of water, bread, and flour. And when it's risen, or at least most of the way, you can use it to make chewy delicious sour. Sourdough, lots of work, but doesn't leave me. Sourdough tastes good and it's so healthy. Don't settle for the fakes. Always go home bake. You'll be much happier in the end. But don't eat too much or you'll get caked. Okay, verse 2. It was so frustrating in my first several tries. I couldn't seem to get it right. Every time I made it, it was just too dry, so I did more research night after night. Did you know about its low GI? That means it won't spike your blood sugar high. It's cheaper than the store-bought, and you can add what you want. That's why I say the best kind of bread is sourdough. Lots of work, but doesn't leave me. Sourdough. It tastes good, and it's so healthy. Don't settle for the fakes. Always go home bake. You'll be much happier in the end, but don't eat too much, or you'll get caked. Bridge, it's so strange. A simple glob in a jar can really change your life. Take it from me, however busy you are. Joy's on the edge of a bread knife. The bread knife. The bread knife. Verse 3 got the moisture just right. The time to rise too. Switching to a stand mixer saved my cramping hands. It looks so much better than when I was new. Now give it a take. Music pauses. Crunch. Wowie wow. Sourdough. Yeah, okay. Outro. Ooh, that was so good. Let's see. What should I try next? Oh, I know. I'll dry it out next time and make French toast with. Oh no, even better. Croutons, sourdough croutons, seasoned with Parmesan cheese and garlic powder. That settles it. I'm having a salad tonight. Funny, amazing, really, really, really awesome, awesome job, Nate. Fantastic. I think my only, what I would love to see you do for Mark 3 is take out, and we're going to take a page from Elon Musk's playbook here. Elon Musk says when you're deleting things to make things better, you should delete so much that you're forced to put 10% back. And if you're not forced to put 10% back, then you didn't delete enough to begin with. We're actually going to take a page out of Elon Musk. Elon, what does he have to do with art? Everything. So, yeah. Here's my challenge to you, Nate, is to go ahead and delete words that are not necessary for communicating the meaning out of this lyric to the point that you're forced to put them back in to make sure we understand what you're talking about. That would be my challenge to you for Mark 3. Morning, Jamari on Facebook. And yeah, that would be my recommendation. Hey Sword says, I don't think I've ever actually tasted any sourness from the sourdough bean. Oh, bro, you're missing out on half the fun. Some of it is legitimately sour. Like, you don't actually taste it. It actually tastes sour. But that being said, some people actually have a gene that stops them from tasting sour taste. I don't know if you know this. I only know this because my fiance has it, and she will taste things that are sour and be like, huh? And And then I'll taste it and be like, oh my God, it's so sour. It just literally has a gene. It doesn't taste sour. So there you go. Cool. Yeah, so that's what I would think about doing. Honey chicken sub on the next outer. Honestly, that doesn't sound bad. All right. William Nate Bodine says the sourness comes from the acidity of the bread starter. Look at us. Deep dive. Yeah. So, Nate, to give you a couple ideas, like I love the bridge, having things a little bit more wordy here. Also, when I'm saying take away words, when you say take it from me, however busy you are, like you could just say how busy you are, but part of the charm of the way in which you're communicating is by saying things like take it from me. So I'm not saying take that away. But like for example, in the chorus, you'll be so much happier in the end. It's like how can you say that in less words? Sourdough, lots of work but doesn't leave me. Sourdough tastes good and so you'll settle for the fakes. Always go home bake. You'll be much happier in the end but don't need much to do. You see how like he gets so wordy? The more words you have, the more variables you have to contend with when creating your melody. Like you physically have to find a place for those syllables somewhere in the melody. And so it is always my preference to try and reduce the number of words because then you get to choose how to spread those words out over your melody. And you can, in general, have more choice between making something melismatic versus syllabic in the way that you are arranging both the rhythm and the notes of the melody relative to the syllables of the lyric. Like it was so, you don't actually need it was so. You could just frustrating on my first several tries or frustrated on my first several tries. Couldn't seem to get it right. You see, you don't need the I just. Every time it was just you try, you don't need the I made it. We get that you're making it. And then you could take so I. You could just say did more research on that. We know it's you. Right? So going through and thinking with that, how do you say? Filter. Going through and thinking with that filter will help you streamline the lyrics. It actually will make it easier to understand because you're giving people less information. And people don't need every single word to understand what's going on. They really just need it distilled down. Now, that doesn't mean, and to be clear, I'm not making some type of broad sweeping artistic statement like you should never have wordy lyrics. You might have really phenomenal wordy lyrics that work perfectly with the melody you create for them. However, a lot of the time, there's words that you literally don't need, and by having those extra mouth sounds in there, those extra words, it can actually take away from the overall meaning. So imagine, for example, you were trying to play Where's Waldo, and only Waldo was on the page. You'd very quickly find Waldo. But if you have 500,000 other people who kind of look like Waldo on the page, and also Waldo, you have a very difficult time finding Waldo. In the same way, when we have words that don't contribute to the meaning in lyrics, it can actually make it harder for people to understand what's actually going on. You want to make it stupid simple for people to understand, regardless of the genre you're in. And that's something I do feel confident standing behind. Now, when I say stupid simple, that doesn't mean you have to be speaking with third grade language. It doesn't mean that you have to be speaking about simple things that like everyone can relate to or anything like that. It just means to make sure that people, here's the caveat. There's always a dichotomy. If you want to be understood, literally, like you literally want people to understand what it is you're talking about, then you should make it as simple as possible for them to understand. If you want to be ambiguous or you want to leave things open-ended for people to maybe get it, maybe not get it, to leave with a question, then do whatever it is you want. So K-Sword asks an interesting question. So K-Sword asks, you can try and structure rhymes like poetry, right? Yeah. Example, A, B, A, B, A, A, B, B. Try to limit syllables per measure. Right. So the way I like to think about it is actually syllables per line. So I would think about trying to the easiest way I've found to be able to teach people is you look at one line in the in the poem or in the lyrics, and then you think about taking that one line and transferring it into 4 measures. Then once you've done that, sometimes if it's very short lines, or even if they're longer lines, it's going to end up being 2 and 2. But start off by taking your lyrics and translating them into 4 measure groups. And you might find that you keep on creating just 2 measures worth of content with them, and then maybe you have actually 2 lines of poetry to 1 line of music. Yep. And then obviously, we're talking like 4/4 basic stuff. I'm not saying don't go write a song in 12/8, far from it. But like, let's start with 4/4. That's what you've been hearing your whole life from like nursery rhymes on. So it's like, let's start there. K-Sword on Twitch has another question. Then when you apply it to a song, you have a cadence to match tempo and key, I assume. Yeah, not necessarily. Sometimes having a mismatch between content and speed, like a really happy song that's slow or a really sad song that's fast, right? So you don't have to literally sort of text paint with the music, right? So I was just watching the Rings of Power second season. I just finished the last episode just now. Yes, I watch TV in the mornings because usually I work into the afternoon and evening, so my actual time for me to do something that I like doesn't matter. I don't know, just whatever. Let's keep going. So my fiance sitting next to me on the couch, and she goes, "How much longer is this episode going to be?" And I said, "It's going to be under 1 minute." And I'd never seen it before. And she just goes, "Oh, okay." She didn't ask me how I knew. You want to know how I knew it was going to be less than 1 minute till the episode is over? Because the music. I could hear the music. The music's going 1, it goes to 4 minor, then it goes to like 1 in maybe first inversion. I'm like, oh, this is getting wrapped up right now. So it's literally painting with the music, the wrap up, right? You can do that for songs, but you could also twist, right? So Nate could take his sourdough song that's kind of like fun and playful and like put it against a fugue with like an opera singer. No rule says he can't. But yeah, in general, especially when we're starting off, happy songs, common chord progression, major pentatonic, minor pentatonic. It'll be easy. All right, team. Any other questions? No, I don't see any other questions. I'm looking at Facebook, Damari, Nate, looking at Twitch, K-Sword. Got a few people over on YouTube. No one's asking questions. That's okay. You're welcome to hang out, y'all, on YouTube. Hi. Yeah. All right, cool. I don't see any more questions for today, so we will wrap it up here. Thank you all so very much for joining me. And I will see y'all same music time, same music channel. If I did not answer your question, please leave me your question about music specifically below this video. All right, thank you all so very much. Take care. Have a fantastic and phenomenal rest of your day. Take care and